You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. Let's get to the latest NBA news and rumors. And with the NBA offseason here for a lot of teams not in playoff contention, the rumors are certainly juicy. Let's kick off today's show with getting into the latest on Kristaps Porzingis, because I think it's somewhat inevitable that the Dallas Mavericks are at least going to explore a trade to try to get a better player back to pair with Luka Doncic. And Mark Cuban has said openly in the past that there have been, quote, dust-ups between Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic. Now, Luka Doncic is entering a critical year and a critical summer because the Dallas Mavericks can offer him a max contract. And he smiled during his postseason press conference back a couple days ago when he was asked if he was going to sign that contract extension. So the main priority for the Dallas Mavericks, if Luka says he's going to sign that max, it's keeping him happy in NBA free agency and getting him a legitimate number 2 player. I don't think Kristaps Porzingis is that guy, and a lot of sources around the NBA agree with me on that one. Here's what a source had to say recently to NBA Analysis Network. The Mavericks are absolutely going to entertain the idea of trading Kristaps Porzingis in the offseason, but nobody is going to be interested. He was close to a no-show in the playoffs this year and has not been the same player ever since he injured his left knee in 2018. For $30 million a year, there are much better options than Porzingis league-wide. So that's what a source had to say to NBA Analysis Network. I let my feelings be known that I'm not a big fan of KP either, especially after those injuries, and I think, quite frankly, he's somewhat soft. Do you think the Dallas Mavericks are going to trade Kristaps Porzingis this offseason? Get into the comments, get your votes in, and let me know what you think about this. Type T for trade, type K for keep, get your votes in down below. A big reason why Kristaps Porzingis might get traded, why the Dallas Mavericks want to relieve themselves of that salary, that figure is not good for the player that Kristaps Porzingis currently is. This upcoming season, he's going to make $31.5 million. The season after that, $33.8 million. And in 2023-24, that salary, that base salary, jumps up all the way to $36 million. That can really be prohibitive for a franchise that really needs pieces to surround Luka Doncic, because right now he's really the only legitimate star on this roster. Kevin O'Connor, what did he have to say about Kristaps Porzingis on a recent podcast? Kevin O'Connor has some inside sources and works for The Ringer. He's very tapped into NBA circles. And I thought what he had to say about Kristaps Porzingis' situation in Dallas and the Mavericks situation with him was somewhat fascinating. Quote, "The trouble here is that the Dallas Mavericks are facing a challenge to make massive changes to the roster. Porzingis has 2 seasons left plus a player option for a 3rd year left on his contract, and teams don't want him if they try to trade him. Mark Cuban denied previous reports that the Mavericks shopped Kristaps Porzingis, but at the least, league sources have told me interest in Porzingis is minimal. Teams are scared off by the money, the health, and possibly his diminishing production." And the production for Kristaps Porzingis has no doubt diminished over the last couple of years. I think his on-court fit alongside Luka Doncic can be a little funky. And if Mark Cuban, who's very familiar and tapped into what's going on within the organization that he does run, has said that there are dust-ups between Porzingis and Luka, I'm trying to get him out of here because my main goal is to make Luka happy. As for the favorites to land Porzingis, odds makers have put out some fascinating odds as well. The Boston Celtics, right now the leaders to trade for him at plus 200, some solid value there. The Warriors coming in at plus 225. The Oklahoma City Thunder, you might be saying, why would they want to trade for Kristaps Porzingis? They're not competing right now. They're not tied down to anybody financially. They're at plus 300 on these recent odds. The Magic at plus 400 and the Wizards at plus 500. We'll see if maybe they pull a trigger for Kristaps Porzingis to pair him with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. I think Kristaps is damaged goods. I think he's somewhat soft. He was a no-show in the first round of the NBA playoffs, and every time I've seen him go up against some legitimate competition, he's folded. And since that ACL injury that he suffered back in 2018, he just has not been the same player. At one point, you thought he was going to be a unicorn, an athletic freak who was a rim-running guy who could also stretch the floor a little bit and be a legitimate modern-day big man. But his game has changed because of those injuries, and I think when he tries to bang down low against some legitimate centers across the league, he just doesn't have that physical presence that you need in that position. And while the raw numbers for this past season were just okay, the eye test will tell you Kristaps Porzingis isn't it, especially when you're paying him north of $30 million over the next 3 seasons. So grade Kristaps Porzingis right now in this current moment as a player. Very simple. A, B, C, D, or F. Be honest with me, play the scout, be the general manager, and grade how you think Kristaps Porzingis is right now as a player in the NBA, A, B, C, D, or F. Be sure to get your votes in down below and let me know what you think about the current status of Kristaps Porzingis. I said he's soft, he's overpaid. I frankly don't think he's all that good, but for teams out there who are looking to make a splash this offseason, and they're trying to get rid of a big salary, Kristaps Porzingis could be a guy they trade for. I'm talking about the Boston Celtics with Kemba Walker, as well as the Golden State Warriors. We've talked about this on the channel plenty. What are the Celtics going to do this offseason with Kemba Walker? Because his salary the next 2 seasons, it is astronomically high in the mid-30s to upper 30s in terms of millions of dollars. Not the same player that he once was because of some of those injuries. He's somewhat of a weird fit next to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And with 2 years left on his deal, the Celtics are kind of stuck with him unless they can find a trade partner. And according to Bleacher Report, the Boston Celtics would like to move on from Kemba Walker, and Kemba Walker would like to move on from the Boston Celtics. Here's what Bleacher Report had to say in that aforementioned report. Sources close to the Celtics revealed Danny Ainge sought to trade Kemba Walker, and Drew Holiday was the target. Holiday ended up with the Milwaukee Bucks, who are now in the second round of the NBA playoffs, and a source close to Walker said he was hurt by Boston's efforts to trade him, which created a rift in the Walker-Ainge relationship. Walker has a great relationship with his teammates and looked forward to being a veteran mentor to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but the same can't be said about Walker and the front office. He no longer feels wanted. I certainly understand where Kemba Walker is coming from with this, but he has to realize, and he's been in the NBA for a long time, he's very socially conscious, he's business-minded, he's a very intelligent dude. This is a business. And when your play declines, and when you start to show that your body is breaking down, and your knee issues have resulted in you losing an athletic spark and some explosiveness, the same athletic qualities that made you one of the most dangerous scoring options as a guard across the entire NBA, the front office is going to look to trade you if you are a damaged asset and you're making, $36+ million over the next 2 years. That salary set to change a little bit depending on the year. Kemba Walker can be hurt all he wants. But Danny Ainge, who now has stepped down as the president of basketball operations, and Brad Stevens, who has now taken that role, have to do what's best for their own job status, and what's best for the Boston Celtics. And if that means trying to look for trade partners to get rid of Kemba Walker in terms of his salary and the player, bring in a player who is obviously more affordable and maybe better equipped alongside Tatum and Brown, you have to do that because the Celtics just finished this past year at an even 500. I understand they dealt with a bunch of injury and COVID issues. They went out in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And in a media market like Boston and the Celtics, having won a NBA record 17 championships, that is not good enough. So if the Celtics can find a trade partner for Kemba Walker and bring a player back in, that's the best move for this franchise. So Kemba Walker can be hurt all he wants. It's in the best interest for the Celtics to try to find a trade partner to trade him this offseason. As always, we appreciate you watching Celtics Today, and be sure you are subscribed by either hitting that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/CelticsTV.